We are physically bound to the here and now, but our minds rarely stay put. We walk down a crowded street, sit at our desks, or lie in bed, while our consciousness wanders entirely out of the present moment. This ability to project our thoughts forward and backward in time is a highly evolved cognitive trait. It allows us to plan harvests and build civilizations, but it carries an immense biological cost. This diagram illustrates our mental bandwidth. Instead of staying centered in our physical body, our focus splits, draining down separate pathways into the past and future. The physical present is starved of attention, while the non-existent past and future pulse with borrowed energy. We end up haunting timelines we cannot actually touch, leaving us perpetually detached from the reality unfolding directly in front of us. Looking backward, the human brain acts as a meticulous archivist. It logs every action, conversation, and outcome as historical data, trying to ensure our survival by keeping a perfect record of what went wrong. Psychologists call the dark side of this archiving process rumination. It is the involuntary, endless replay of mistakes made, relationships lost, and opportunities missed. Look at the architecture of a rumination loop. The brain generates a thought about a past event, which triggers an emotion. Because the nervous system processes remembered emotional pain using the exact same pathways as physical injury, that emotion endlessly feeds back into the originating thought. No matter how much energy spins through this circuit, it cannot alter the data. The past is a closed system that absorbs mental effort without changing shape. We crave total control over our environment, but history offers none. It is entirely unforgiving and strictly permanent. Pouring our focus into an unchangeable timeline leaves a psychological vacuum in the present. It breeds regret and depression, creating a deep sense of helplessness that the brain desperately tries to fix. To protect itself from the helplessness of looking backward, the mind deploys a defense mechanism. It violently shifts its focus in the exact opposite direction. If yesterday is unchangeable history, tomorrow is a mystery, a blank slate that the brain believes it can manage through sheer anticipation. To avoid past mistakes, a single decision node rapidly fractures into chaotic branches, mapping every possible outcome. The mind cannot resolve this infinite equation. Overwhelmed, the effort to predict an unknowable future collapses into a chronic fear called anticipatory anxiety. By treating tomorrow as a dangerous threat that must be solved, rather than an unfolding sequence of events, we manufacture our own dread. Measured, steady. This leaves the human psyche stretched to its absolute limit, anchored to an unchangeable past on one side and an uncontrollable future on the other. While our consciousness frantically oscillates between history and mystery, the actual events of our lives pass by unobserved. We separate from ourselves. It requires an exhausting amount of energy to fight against variables that strictly do not exist in the current physical space. The harder we strain against the boundaries of time, the more certain it becomes that we will miss the only reality we actually inhabit. There is an alternative to this exhaustion, and it requires dropping both ends of the rope. True mindfulness is a rigorous, demanding cognitive anchor designed to halt mental time travel in its tracks. Returning to our timeline model, we can see how this operates. Practicing mindfulness means actively recalling scattered cognitive energy. We pull our attention away from the past and future pathways, forcing it to concentrate in the central physical reality of the present. This central position is the only timeline in existence where human beings actually possess agency. Every action we can take and every genuine connection we can make originates exclusively from this single point in time. Grounding ourselves here actively starves the cognitive loops. Without our attention, the depression rooted in the past and the anxiety projecting into the future lose their fuel. We gain control over our lives exactly at the moment we surrender our obsession with the timelines we cannot access. This is the essence of the proverb's final clause. Today is a gift of God, which is why we call it the present. The linguistic overlap is precise. A present is something given freely, arriving entirely untethered from our past failures or our future fears. It requires nothing from us but acceptance. Yet, Out of habit, we leave it unopened. We ignore the tangible reality immediately in front of us to stare into the void. But when we stop, when we actually observe the current moment, we find clarity. By choosing to anchor ourselves in the now, we cease being victims of our history or prisoners of our mysteries. We simply arrive where we already are and finally learn to live.